Facebook up. Hi guys, awesome. Both of them are working. Good morning. So great to see everybody live. I wish I was seeing you in person, but it's still wonderful to do these classes. I look forward to it every week. 40 says hi, the cat you always see in my videos. So we're going to go ahead and get started, okay? Okay, guys. So today is kind of a focus on shoulders and kind of a heart opener, thoracic spine, upper back. I'm notoriously have tight shoulders, so it's something I always try to work on myself pretty regularly, and I think especially with all the anxiety and kind of tension we're feeling in the world, I always come back to it because we have a tendency to store that tension up in our neck and our shoulder area. So we usually feel a lot better when we open those up. So today I am going to be using 2 blocks. So if you have that at home, you'll want to keep those nearby. Also, a strap of some kind can always be really helpful to use as well. Again, you might want to grab those and have them nearby for the practice. We are going to start though laying on our backs. And I want to start us doing one of my most favorite kind of warm-ups. It's very, very simple. So I'm going to have us laying nice and flat in our traditional Shavasana posture. Let's begin today's flow, just slowly lengthening our inhalations through the nose. Taking in a nice deep breath, really feeling that rib cage expand. And slowly exhaling. Feeling that hiss or that ha in the back of the throat, creating that ujjayi breath. Doing that 2 more times. Inhaling. With each inhalation, imagine we're kind of wiping the slate clean in our mind. Exhaling with that ujjayi hiss or ha. Allowing that mind to be still on our next inhalation. And quiet. Good. So continuing that breath pattern, that long inhalation, let's lengthen our arms overhead. So hopefully you guys can see me. Yeah. Big inhale, lengthen and stretch, and see how I'm going to leave my hands above my head. I'm going to exhale, but press everything down. So it's a really simple, small movement, but it creates kind of tension as we push into our mat. And then we're going to take a recovery breath, just relaxing. Good. So we're going to do that again. Inhale, reach, making yourself as long as possible, fingertips to toes. Exhale, really focus on pressing down, especially in that spine, pushing between the shoulder blades, the mid and lower back, hips, everything down, and then relaxing. Recovery breath. We'll do that one final time. Inhale, reach. And exhale. Good. Relaxing for that recovery breath, bringing those hands alongside of us. Let's bend the knees. I want us just to cross our right ankle over our left knee. I want to open the hips up just a little bit before we start, especially since the focus will be a little more on the shoulders. We want to make sure those hips get love as well. So even as I pull in for this reclining kind of pigeon pose, I want to give maybe a little rock side to side if that feels good. And then we'll switch to the opposite side. Left leg goes down, uncross, and recross. Especially if this is kind of the first movement you're having this morning or today. It's really nice to kind of ease into those hip and shoulder stretches, always listening to your body, taking modifications when your body needs it, respecting your body's limits, as well as challenging the areas that you feel comfortable challenging. Beautiful work, guys. Let's release back down. Let's go ahead, sit ourselves upright. I'm going to come to a nice forward fold. Let those arms kind of shake out. Maybe do a ragdoll forward fold here as we lengthen those hamstrings out as well. Good. And let's just reach those arms up and down. Again, up and down. And on this third time, while we go up, big inhale. On the exhale, we'll swing those arms all the way forward, up into the sky. And exhaling through our center. Beautiful. Again, inhale. Arms go back. Exhale, arms go up. Inhale. Hands to heart center. Exhaling all the way down. Inhale, back. Exhale. Up. Inhale. Hands to heart center. Exhale. All the way down. Let's go ahead and move through our sun salutation. A, inhale, flat back. Exhale, stepping or hopping back. Beautiful. And once we're in that high plank, if you'd like to take either a true chaturanga or from your knees, releasing down. Inhale into cobra or upward dog. Exhale, down dog. Good work, guys. First down dog, let's kind of settle in, get comfortable. Maybe walk that down dog out just a little bit. To kind of get a feel for how your shoulders are feeling and chest is feeling in down dog even. We can also kind of tuck that chin to our chest. Feel those arms open a bit. Then release. Do it again. And release. Wonderful job, guys. So from here, I'm going to come back to my high plank. And then I'm going to release down to the mat. From here, we're going to do a nice, real kind of spinal roll. Taking our hands out into a little bit of a Y shape, and you can even kind of get a feel for how far out you want to put these forehead to mat, because we're going to just push that ground away. Elbows nice and high. Rolling up. Beautiful. Inhale and exhale. Rolling back down, nice and gentle. Rolling up. And exhale down. Last one. And exhale down. Hands can come back, right behind those shoulders, toes underneath us. Push that ground away. Reverse chaturanga.
And lifting those hips nice and high to down dog. Hey, buddy. Good work, guys. Let's go ahead, drop to our knees, sit back on our heels. Half hero pose. Hands are going to come behind us, opening that chest up. Depending on how your neck feels, if it's tight or it's uncomfortable, eyes can look straight ahead. But if you'd like to lift that head and neck to drop back, you can. And then we're going to roll forward, keeping those hands behind us. Again, you can always use a strap if those hands don't want to interlace. And my cat's right in the way. Sorry, guys. I'm going to bring my forehead right down to the mat and lift those arms up into the ceiling. Good. And then from there, you can even release those hands, grab those heels, and kind of roll that forehead into rabbit pose. Feeling a nice stretch as you hold here through that kind of neck and shoulders. Good. Rolling back, sitting yourself up. We're going to then place our hands out in front, roll all the way or slide all the way into a puppy pose. Really allowing that chest to sink into the mat. Depending on how open your shoulders are, you want to start with that forehead to our mat, but then slowly as those shoulders open, try lifting that head, releasing that chin to the mat. Now my forearms are nice and firm on my mat out in front of me, so I'm going to transition out of puppy into a plank position. So you can stay on your knees, or you can rise up onto your toes and hold. Good job, guys. Two more breaths here. Following that final exhalation, we can release back to our knees, and we're going to kind of reverse it back into our puppy pose. And so now imagine this is like a dynamic puppy pose transition. We can go back and forth. Every time you sink back, feel that shoulders and chest open, and then return to that plank. So I'm going to inhale, exhale into puppy, and then inhale again through that transition, exhale into plank. Let's do it one more time. Good work, guys. So from this position, I'm going to push the ground away, return to my high plank, and lift my hips, returning to down dog. Good work, guys. So let's start getting some movement in that thoracic spine. I'm going to lift my right hand. I'm going to reach it across. And you can see I can reach to my upper leg, my knee, my calf, but I'm going to use that leverage of grabbing the outside of my leg and open that chest. So we're looking through that arm. Ears right along that upper arm. And then we're going to do the same thing opposite side. So kind of take your time getting into that position. Feel what feels good. Keep those hips relatively square. Good job, guys. Returning back to our down dog. And then from here, I'm going to step, hop, or walk forward to the front of my mat. Forward fold, deep breath in. Beautiful, reach up. Good. Back to heart center. Let's go ahead and do a few nice, beautiful swan dives that we do use a lot for moving into our vinyasa or sun salutation A. Let's reach up. Really allow that heart to open upwards. And exhale, leading with that chest down, letting those hands relax and point downwards. Again, scooping up. Ooh, sorry, 40. Exhaling down. Inhale up. And last one. Exhaling down, feeling that spine lengthen, chest stays open, right to the end. Beautiful job. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, stepping or hopping back. Let's take our vinyasa flow. Finding ourselves back in down dog. My right leg's gonna lift, three-legged dog. On the exhale, let's step it forward, pulling that knee into the chest as we step forward. Right foot plants. Inhaling up to warrior one. Another breath in. And we can exhale into warrior two. Good. I'm going to straighten this front leg. We're going to reach forward into our Trikonasana. Again, if you have those blocks ready, you can release down. Left hand going up. Triangle pose. Good. Now I'm going to let this left hand come down, but I'm going to hold this posture into pyramid pose. So legs stay relatively the same. My hips have just squared off, facing forward. Good. And from here, hands can come down to the mat as I'm going to lift that back heel, come into kind of a runner's stretch, and then back to pyramid pose. Runners, pyramid pose. One more time. Exhaling into that pyramid pose, returning to our Trikonasana. Slowly lifting. Let's keep those legs straight, reverse triangle pose. Back to warrior two. Good. Now, we're going to do those same motions, but rather than having those arms long, we're going to bring them right behind the head. So I'm going to straighten up into my triangle pose. I'm going to dip those elbows down. Well, right elbow down, left elbow up. Eyes looking up. So you can see this is that same posture. Hands behind the head. Good. Let's rotate into pyramid pose, into a runner's stretch. Try to keep those hands, chest, elbows, everything open. Back to pyramid pose. So hopefully you feel this challenge now that we don't have those arms down to support us. We'll do it one more time. Let's return into Trikonasana. And then lastly, we'll lift, reverse triangle pose. Into warrior two. All with these hands behind the head. Wonderful job. If you guys were able to complete that, let's extend back to warrior two, to warrior one. And we'll release to the mat. Set the block just nearby in case we need it for our opposite side. Stepping back, holding that down dog for recovery, or taking that vinyasa. Good work, guys. So again, the same sequence, opposite side. We'll flow through it first, traditionally, three-legged dog, stepping forward. Really using those abdominals, pull that knee into the chest before planting that foot. Lifting, warrior one. We'll hold that for one more breath. Beautiful. We'll take warrior two. Next, preparing for our Trikonasana. Again, triangle pose. And then from triangle pose, if you want to use both your blocks for your pyramid pose, you definitely can have those ready and nearby. So I square those hips, keep that leg nice and long, and move back and forth into that nice dynamic motion of runner's stretch to pyramid pose. Inhaling as we drop into runners, exhaling into that final pyramid pose. Inhaling up into triangle pose, exhaling through that posture, inhaling, lifting, exhaling, reverse triangle, inhaling back to our warrior two. Beautiful job. Okay, so we're going to start from warrior two, placing those hands behind the head. So I can't see you guys, but we're doing that same sequence. We're going to straighten that leg. Triangle pose first. And again, think about this exercise, really using those back muscles and those shoulder blades to pull together, open up those hands. Now, as I square those hips, it should bring my chest and my upper back together into pyramid pose. And then we can go back and forth, lifting that heel as we drop into runner's stretch, straightening it out. Really using those abdominals as well here for this series, guys. You may be focusing on the upper body, trying to keep it open, but there's a lot going on with that lower body as well to focus on. You guys are doing amazing, working through this as a balanced posture as well. Keeping those hands behind the head, we no longer have it to help support us. So we return to triangle pose. Keeping those legs where they are, lifting that torso. Exhaling into our reverse triangle. Coming back, upright. Our final posture with the hands behind the head, warrior two legs. And then we'll release back to traditional warrior two to warrior one. Good work, guys. Releasing those hands down, taking a vinyasa, or recovering in down dog. Good work, everybody. So from here, I'm going to step, hop or walk forward, back to our forward fold at the front of our mats. Inhale, big reach up. I'm going to bring my feet together as I exhale into chair pose. Let's start out doing a revolved chair. Hands are at heart center. I'm going to lift my left elbow. It might be showing up on your screen as right, since it flips that on the live
green. But from here, I'm going to take my revolved chair. I'm going to separate those hands out. Now, I'm going to move into revolved side angle. So see how that hand is planted on the mat? I'm going to step back with that opposite leg. At this point, you can kind of move that hand around, maybe keep it on the outside of the foot if you're able, or take it to the inside of the foot. That is up to you. But I really want to go from kind of a higher lunge to a really, really deep lunge, so that body kind of flattens out. You see that? And that allows us and gives us a little more space to really open that chest up. Eyes looking up through that hand. Good. As I release back down, I'm going to release that knee to the ground as well, lifting into a kneeling warrior lunge. Good. Hands coming back to heart center, back to the mat, back to underneath us. Let's step back down dog. Taking that vinyasa. Eyes looking up, stepping or hopping forward. Forward fold. Big reach up. Inhale. Good. Exhale back to our chair pose. Let's take another full breath here before we revolve that chair pose to the opposite side. Beautiful. Inhale. Opposite elbow points up. Good. If you want to start to separate those hands and then step back. Once that hand is really firmly planted on that ground, step back. Opposite side. Woo, as I almost lose it. From here, I'm going to really, like I said, focus on opening that chest up and really deepening that lunge. So you can even kind of crawl that foot back, really let that hip sink so you get a nice stretch through that hip and a nice open chest. Beautiful revolved or rotation in that thoracic spine before we release down. Dropping into that lunge, lifting into warrior one. Again, this gives you a chance to get a little extra love into that front hip flexor before we release back down, back toe underneath us, stepping back to down dog or our vinyasa. Good work, guys. From this down dog, once again, we're going to return to our knees. I'm going to get my blocks set up. So, like I said, I mentioned earlier I was going to use 2 of them because we're going to return to another chest or heart opener by placing our forearms on our blocks. We're going to sink into our second puppy pose, but having the elevation of these blocks is really going to allow our head and neck to kind of sink through our arms, really stretching that chest and shoulder area that we're trying to reach today. So I have my hands still outstretched. You're welcome to also, see, I'm going to shorten up just a little. You're welcome to also kind of bring those hands behind the head by bending those elbows. Whatever feels good for you. But really try to take your time here, breathing through the stretch. Good work. From here, as we exit, I'm going to come into my hands and knees. I'm going to set my blocks off to the side, but I'm going to return to my high plank. From here, let's take a down dog. In that down dog, we're going to slowly release those elbows to the mat, almost like we're entering dolphin, but then we're going to push that ground away. High plank, chaturanga push-up. So we're doing like 2 different kinds of push-ups here. This is wonderful work for the shoulders as well as the triceps, 2 areas that we're also working on opening today. But notice how controlled these are. You can also do them from the knees. And at this point, since we're just going back and forth, you guys can be moving at your own pace. So no reason to rush or have to stay exactly with me. If your body needs to rest, you can hang out longer in down dog before dropping into the dolphin push-up. If you want to work that core a little longer, you can hold your high plank just a little longer before moving through into the chaturanga push-up. So it gives you a lot of options here to kind of meet this point of the flow to your own body's needs. We're going to do one more set. And then, as we all return to down dog, we'll hold here for one more breath. Before stepping back up to the front of our mat. Getting off those hands, even kind of rolling those wrists if you need to. Big breath in, reach up. Good. Hands coming back to heart center in Tadasana. Let's step back with our right foot now. So from here, we're going to enter our warrior 1. Good. Exhale, warrior 2. Earlier we did our Trikonasana traditionally, just like so. So let's take that again. Good. But then, just like we did earlier, as we come to pyramid pose, let's now open that body into revolve triangle. Returning to pyramid pose, returning to traditional triangle. Good, and lifting up. Warrior 1. I have my block right in the way. So then we'll step forward. Tadasana, opposite side, stepping back. Warrior 1. Warrior 2. Triangle pose. Exhaling, pyramid pose. Nice long hamstrings that are nice and warmed up already. If you need to shorten your stance before lifting into that revolve triangle, you're more than welcome to do so. I actually need mine open a little more. Good. Back to pyramid. Back to triangle. Good. Slowly lifting. Warrior 2 to warrior 1. Good. Hands are going to come down, and we're going to step back to down dog. Good work, guys. If you'd like to take that vinyasa, go ahead. Beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful work. I'm going to drop again to my knees. I'm going to sit back in child's pose. Keeping those hands out in front of me. Nice long arms. You can even crawl those fingers forward. Good. On my next inhale, I'm going to roll back up. And we're going to begin a camel sequence. Camel pose sequence. Okay, so I have my blocks nearby because for a lot of you, if you need props for camel, the blocks can be really, really helpful. So from my half hero, I'm going to come up onto my knees. If you're not using blocks or you don't have them available, you can always lift onto your toes. I'm going to tuck my tailbone, making sure my glutes are really, really nice and strong and activated, pushing through my hip flexors here. I'm going to support my lower back, placing my hands right into kind of the sacrum region, creating a little triangle with my hands to mimic the sacrum. And I'm going to slowly lift my heart up to the ceiling, into this kind of supported camel. Before I release, hands back down. Now I want to work on opening that chest in a rotation of the spine and reaching for my opposite foot. So we're doing kind of even like a revolved camel here. Again, I want to make sure everyone at home knows they can always use blocks to support themselves if those feet feel really far away. Like I could even put my block in the middle between my legs here. So I reach back and lift into that revolved camel pose. Opposite side. Again, so you can see, reach for that opposite foot. Let's do that 2 more times. Big wide arms, keeping nice length as we go back and forth. Good. So following that revolved work, if you'd like to take a full camel pose, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Just make sure that tailbone stays tucked, the abdominals are really working, glutes are really working to push those hips forward as you reach back for those heels. You can hold as long as you'd like. And what's beautiful is following that camel pose, you can ease right back into that child's pose where we just were. And it's a wonderful feeling, kind of recovery to lengthen that spine out in the opposite direction that we were just lengthening it in camel. And then as well, if you'd like to get those toes underneath you and take a down dog, that would be our next step. Beautiful work, guys. Awesome. So from here, let's return back to our kneeling plank position. Now I told you earlier I was going to use 2 blocks. We're going to pull these back out again because we're going to put them back behind us. Because not only is a shoulder and back class good in terms of flexibility work, we also want to make sure those shoulders are nice and strong. So, as you can see, I'm getting ready to put my toes right on my blocks. Okay? Good. Now, I've come up into my high plank with my toes on my blocks. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to kind of play with moving those feet around. We're going to take them on and off those blocks nice and carefully. I'm keeping a lot of weight in my hands here because that's going to make it easier to remove those feet from the blocks and return them. And that's also what kind of pulls this into a really good shoulder strengthener. But it's also great just body overall, because my abdominals are feeling it, my legs are feeling it, my voice is shaking because I'm working while I'm trying to talk and teach you guys. So hopefully it's challenging you as well. Let's walk one more time right on top. Let's take a chaturanga push-up if you can. Push it back up. Walk those feet off. And we'll recline or relax into our down dog. Good work. Now, nothing fancy here, but I'm going to just reach back. I'm going to grab one of my blocks, bring it right out in front of me. Now, as I return back to my high plank, this is going to seem silly, but all I'm going to do is kind of move my block over out of the way, back to a down dog, back to a high plank. Take this block, move it out of the way, back to a down dog, back to a high plank. So you'll just see I'm just working on, again, shifting weight from side to side in the hands, just getting this block repositioned all over my mat. No real rhyme or reason other than I'm just making sure that block moves to different sides at different times. A little farther out in front, recovering in down dog, maybe a little farther behind, recovering in down dog. Good work. One final motion, setting it right at the front. And returning to my down dog. Good work, guys. Let's take our right leg up nice and high. Three-legged dog to open scorpion dog. Stepping forward, planting it. Warrior two. Now, from this warrior two, I'm going to keep my hips open. Releasing that right hand down and lifting to half moon. Slowly releasing back to warrior two. We'll do that 2 more times. You'll see I kind of reach forward, almost open into that extended side angle to reach for my block or the ground, and then lift to half moon. Again, control that lower. Warrior two. We'll do it one more time, okay? Reach, drop, and lift. Control that lower. From this warrior two, let's now take a reverse warrior. Good job, guys. Back to warrior two, to warrior one. Beautiful sequence. Let's take the hands down, take a vinyasa, or recover in down dog. Good work, guys. I'm going to make sure, again, I have a block up front. If you're using one for half moon, we're going to do our opposite side. Left leg goes nice and high, three-legged dog to open scorpion dog. Stepping forward, planting, lifting to warrior two. So by this point, given that we've done so many of the chest and shoulder openers, the goal is that as we move from warrior two into half moon, not only do those hips stay quote unquote open, meaning we're not rolling or squaring them off, but our chest and shoulders stay open and back. Did you see how I kind of took a round spine, pulled those shoulder blades, retracted them together to open that chest and shoulder up? From here, we reach, we drop. Again, if you're using that block, have it nearby, and we lift into that half moon. We release back down, keeping those shoulder blades pulled back and active that whole time. Reach and lift. Release, really controlled. Shoulders stay open. One remaining half moon. Here we go, guys. Good work. Got quiet as I worked on my balance. Let's take a reverse warrior. Exhaling back to warrior two. Inhaling to warrior one. Good work, guys. We'll release those hands down. We can take our vinyasa. And then we'll all recover in our down dog. Wonderful work. We'll take one more breath here, guys. Good. Eyes looking up, step or hop forward. Coming back to our forward fold. Now what's nice is we have these blocks out in front of us. And I'm going to move a little bit more to the middle of my mat just to make sure you guys can see me. And I have my block, just like I said, just down in front of us from this forward fold. Now, in Sun Salutation A, a lot of times we'll lift up and flatten our back out, right? Get our nice tight belly pulled in. Nice lower back, flat. We want to do that again, only this time we're going to grab our block. We're going to lift up to flatten our back, eyes looking down, crown of the head pointing forward, and we're going to lengthen those arms out in front. Exhaling down. On our next inhale, again, lift, lengthen that spine, open those shoulders. Breathing through this long posture. On the next exhale, releasing down. If you'd like to add a bit of a challenge to this, again, and even if you didn't have a block, you can do this without a block. But as I lift, for example, I'm going to also work on coming up onto those toes. Add some balance element here. Good, releasing down. Now what you probably recognize this as is just the upper portion of warrior three. So I want to give you the option, if you'd like, on our next lift, extending the right leg out and extending those arms as well. Warrior three. And again, if you'd like to take a modification while you're balancing, you can always have those hands at heart center or hands down on a block if needed. As I release those legs down, it kind of takes us back to where this whole sequence started. And we'll do the opposite side. Shifting the weight now onto our opposite leg, that leg being nice and rooted and active. Lifting that, in this case, the left leg back. Hands coming out, hips staying square, ankle flexed. Or modifying that warrior three. Releasing back down. I'm going to bend at the knees, reach those hands up. Big stretch, beautiful inhale. Exhaling, hands to heart center. We're going to flow all the way through our vinyasa. So that we find ourselves once again in down dog. Good work, guys. From this down dog, I'm now going to drop to my knees. We're going to do 2 final stretches for the chest and shoulder, but they're going to be down on our mat with our chest down on the mat, nice and flat. So I'm going to start out by extending my legs, belly coming down. If you can't see, I know there's not a lot of room, but palm is going to be down as I release that hole on me, my left side, down into the mat. Then I'm going to push this ground away with my opposite hand and allow my hips and chest, and maybe even like your leg, if you're flexible in those shoulders, to unroll, or to, kind of to unroll upward. If you want to add some internal rotation on this opposite arm as well, you can. Sometimes that feels good. Breathing through this stretch. Now, as I start to unroll and return to my starting position, we're not going to move to the opposite side yet. The only thing I want to do is bend that elbow into 90 degrees. So I'm facing my mat right now. So before I was like laying like this on the ground, I want you to now simply just bend that elbow. What I always see students in the studio do is kind of drop this elbow, and they'll end up kind of laying face down like this. So make sure you have that arm at that 90-degree angle while you're laying down, okay? We're gonna roll one more time. This is now, you're gonna feel it a little more in the chest. So you might see how I don't roll nearly as far the second time. So be careful opening up and stretching that chest. This can be an intense stretch. Good, and we'll unroll. So now we'll do both on the opposite side. Palm down, arms straight first. Rolling that body. Good work again. If you want to add that internal rotation, you can. And unrolling into that chest stretch. Arm at 90 degrees before I push that ground away a second time. Good work, guys. I hope this has made that chest, shoulders, neck area all feel a lot looser. As we come back to center, I'm going to push that ground away. Sit back in half hero. Just roll those shoulders out. Kind of do a side to side stretch. Beautiful. One final big, beautiful opener before we transition back to our mat for Shavasana. Okay? Beautiful job. If you want to use any of those props or blocks nearby for Shavasana, always feel free to do that. I'm going to give you guys a few moments of quiet and stillness. Resting here. Beautiful work, guys. Let's slowly start to bring some movement back to our body, beginning with the fingers, the toes, the arms, the legs. Maybe you want to do one final big reach overhead like we did at the beginning of class. Exhaling, flattening that body out before relaxing and releasing, transitioning from here to an upright seated position. Returning once again. Not returning, I think it's our first lotus pose today. Eyes remaining closed, palms open and up. As I always like to end my classes, let's take a deep, beautiful breath in. Being grateful for the health of our bodies to move and stretch and bend and flex. Breathing in again. Showing gratitude to our mind to have some stillness, some quiet. And then on our final breath in together as a class, big reach up. Being grateful for all of our emotions that our hearts can feel, the good and the bad. As always, guys, thank you so much for getting to be a part of this live. And remember, you can always watch these videos on the Four Corners Facebook page, as well as the Four Corners YouTube channel. Thank you so much. As always, namaste. You guys have a beautiful rest of your, what is it, Friday? Friday. Yay. Oh, look at all you guys watching. I always love seeing who's watching. I miss everybody too. Okay, I'll see you guys later.